Welcome back to The Franciska Show, a Jewish coffeehouse podcast, where we encourage fellow artists and entrepreneurs to collaborate and support each other while sharing their stories. I am Franciska, a singer, composer, music producer, coach, and also your host. Thank you so much for joining and listening to this podcast. I look at the numbers and I am so impressed by how so many of you are still checking in, even with everything that's going on. I hope you enjoyed the episode today with Chaya Kogan. I am so excited about this episode. This was the second time we had to record it because there were technical issues with the first time. And I am just so excited to release this to you finally. I'd like to also mention that ModMath now is offering make your own home kits. So if you are looking to straighten your teeth, now is a great time, especially because other beauty services aren't really available to you right now. So this is something you can do to improve your smile, and hopefully when this is all over, you'll have something to show for it. So if you're interested, please reach out to 1-844-MODMouth. That's 1-844-MODMouth, and make sure to tell them Franciska sent you. Also, this week I will be doing a tutorial of how to do a cappella songs using GarageBand. That will be happening in my Facebook group called The Artpreneur Community. If you are serious about turning your art form into a real business, figuring out how you can monetize your talents and how you could create a high earning business, definitely reach out. And here you go. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the show, everyone. So excited for today's episode. We have Chaya Kogan here, originally from Australia, then Moscow, and now Israel. Welcome to the show, Chaya.
Thanks. Thank you for having me.
This is so exciting. I've been following you for the last year or more, ever since you started posting your videos, your amazing music videos online, and sharing your incredible voice. Tell us a little bit about your fascinating background and upbringing, and tell us how it's connected to your development as an artist.
Okay, so I was born in Australia. So I was born into a religious Chabad family. Originally, both my parents became religious, but before they got married. So I was already born into a Chabad family. My mother was a singer. She's stopped singing. But while I was growing up, she was always singing overseas, and she was going on tour. She was actually one of the first religious female singers, and she got a blessing from the Lubavitcher Rebbe to do so, even though it was really uncommon then. Some people looked at it, a little weirdly and thought that it wasn't, the right thing to do, but the Lubavitcher Rebbe really pushed her to do it, and he saw the need for women to have women's music. And that's why she continued. She put out an album, and then she went on to put out a few more. So I was really born into a really musical family. And seeing my mother on stage, I always looked up to her, and I was born loving music. I mean, I remember myself just singing everywhere, driving everyone crazy with all my songs. I'd sing about anything I'd see, just turn it into a song, drive them nuts until they tell me to, stop it already. So I was really born into it. I'd also perform with my mother on stage. I'd sing with her, and then later on, I'd also join in with my guitar. When I was 10 years old, we made Aliyah. We moved to Israel. And also throughout the years, I was always in choirs in school and had solos and all that. And then I taught myself how to play guitar when I was about 16. I got my first guitar for my birthday present. Have it till today. And then a little later on, when I was 18, I joined kind of like a girls' band. Would go all around Israel performing, would be singing and dancing. I was in this group called Kolot. Would perform like 3 times a week. So I did that for about half a year until I got engaged. And after I got married, so I moved to Moscow, so I couldn't continue that. That's basically it. And then afterwards, I already started my professional singing career.
Okay, so thanks for that background. So Moscow was your big switch in terms of, getting married, stopping your creative career, so to speak. What were those years like, and how did you come back into music?
Okay, so in the beginning, I really wasn't performing. I always had at the back of my mind that I do want to put out music. I mean, for me, since I was pretty young, since I was in my, my teenage years, I saw the need for modern music, modern Jewish music, because I couldn't really connect to the regular Hasidic music. It was very hard for me, and I was always looking for something more, for someone who I can learn different things that I can't do with my voice right now, someone who I can look up to. And I didn't really find that in the Hasidic world. So I'd always go and, listen to other stuff and try and imitate the different trills that they do. And it always really caught me. And I saw also like a lot of my friends who were also listening to non-Jewish music, because we really didn't have that in the Jewish world. And I understood that, I wasn't looking for the words at all. I wasn't paying attention to it, but I was really looking for, you know, the vocals, and I'd learn from them. And I'd really just take a song and just imitate it and just like learn all the licks and the trills and try and do exactly like Mariah Carey or whoever it was. And, and that was really what I was attracted to. And I couldn't find that in the Jewish world. So I knew always that that was something that I was going to do when I'd get older. So after I moved to Moscow, I wasn't really working with music. And then some people in the community, they heard that I, used to perform. So they asked me to come and do some things for the community. So I'd play with my guitar and do some songs. But then I decided that I really want to start working on an album. Um, pop album, but all original music. I wasn't really into doing covers of non-Jewish songs. I really wanted to do original Jewish pop music, talking about topics that I think were, especially for women. So I started, collecting up different ideas for songs, and I found this amazing producer here in Israel, and we started working together on an album. So he wrote most of the melodies on my album. I wrote all the English words besides one song, which my brother, many of you probably know, his name is Describe. So he wrote one of the songs on my album. It's All Good, it's called. Amazing song. I love it. So the producer, Sruli Broncha, his name is, his parents are originally from Australia, so we had that connection. So we worked together on my album, and I found another amazing woman named Chani Krichevsky, who wrote all the Hebrew words for me. I gave her all the info and all the things that I wanted to talk about in the song, but I'm not really good at writing in Hebrew. I still didn't feel confident. So she wrote the Hebrew words. And only towards the end of the album, I started gaining confidence to actually write the full song, not only the words. And then I wrote my song called Change, which is like a really cool country song. And since then, I decided that probably the next songs that I'm going to write, I'm going to do it all by myself, the melody and the words. So right now I'm also working on some new things that hopefully will come out with music videos. So I'm really excited about that.
That's super fun and exciting because I love watching your new releases and your work. Obviously, you're a professional singer in terms of you've developed your voice and you perform a lot, which I'd love to talk about more, but you focused on creating the content, and I guess and I had the same thing for many years. All I was doing is just investing in my product. in my content. So I'm assuming, just based on some of your videos, that you spent a lot of money, and you're hoping to make it back with performing.
Yeah.
And so take us through the process of music videos, and it's post recording, it's post all that part of the investment. So how does that work, and has that affected your relationship or your marriage, or having to invest so much into your art form?
So that's a good question. Thank God my husband, really saw my, how should I put it? My
Calling.
need. Yeah, but it was like a need because it's so part of me. And he saw that, like, I felt like I have to do this. It's something that I can't not do. And I feel like Hashem has given me such a gift of music. And I feel like if I don't do it, it's just like a waste of me, just like I feel like I have something that I can give other people. And I feel like music is such a strong tool, um, that you can give so much over in a song, sometimes even more than, going to, a lesson, a Torah lesson. I mean, it's also important, but sometimes it just goes straight into the soul and really can change someone's life. And there's countless stories of what a song, did for someone. So I felt the need to really put out this album, and thank God my husband really, saw that need and saw how much I was just craving it. And he he told me he's gonna give me the money for the album. I'm still working on giving it back, but after I put out the album, um, I realized that I can't stop there. And besides putting out the modern music, we also need music videos. People are still looking elsewhere because we don't have it within our communities. So I decided I'm also going to do, a really good quality music video that people will enjoy. And thank God the feedback has been amazing because I'm really hearing what I wanted to hear, which is women saying that they've stopped listening to non-Jewish music because now, my music you know, is good quality and it's enough for them and they don't feel the need to look elsewhere. So that's really what I wanted. I wanted to give that to the Jewish community, and thank God, that's for me, that's everything. So I did decide to invest in music videos because I felt the need, and I don't regret it at all. I feel like it's important. And if other singers are going to go and put out more music videos, the better. The more, the better. We need it.
I agree. I've never heard anyone say, there's no room for another song. If anything, when people listen to the radio, they're always waiting for what's going to be next. What's going to be next? You have a great song, you enjoyed it, and you'll come back to it, but you want to hear more and you want new, and that's just how our brains function.
Yeah.
So,
You put out some amazing music videos, Franciska.
thank you.
Beautiful, and it's, I love watching them because they're also very high quality, and we need that. The more, the better.
I agree. And it's so nice to be in a community where I feel like they're colleagues. I'm not some crazy person. There are other women who feel like I do, who are investing too much money into their projects for who knows what reason, but that reason of calling and needing to express that, needing to create good Jewish content in an Orthodox environment. And yeah.
People tell me that, they want to stop putting out music. And I'm like, okay, listen, if you're trying to do it to make money, you're not in the right business, because right now we're putting out a lot more than what we're getting back. But we keep doing it,
Absolutely. But you do perform a lot and people invite you, and I love talking about that aspect of it. We have done this interview once. You're, I think, the third guest. I'm doing a redo of the interview because of the sound quality, everyone. So let's talk about the performing end of it, I know you have some amazing messages and words of encouragement in terms of negotiating for your value, for your time, and your talent. So let's talk about that. So hold on. So
So
you just put out a music video, and then communities started saying, I know Chabad communities have more events, they have budgets for events, and so much, there's more of a network to work with, there's an infrastructure. So that may have added, but was it like you released a music video and then suddenly calls started coming in? How did it work?
it didn't really happen straight away. I mean, the music video did definitely help get my name out and my music out. But before I even put out my album, I was contacted by basically the head of Neshei Chabad of Israel. They have their annual convention with about 7,000 women who come. And I was asked to perform my song that I did with my daughter, my oldest daughter. So I actually performed that song for my album before I released my album. So my name did really get out, before I released most of my music. So then with the music video, you know, I just got it out a little more. So after I released it, I did start getting contacted about concerts. First, I started off here in Israel, and then I went to Germany twice within the space of a month. I performed there in 2 different cities. But in the beginning, I didn't really feel comfortable to take so much. I mean, to take what I now know I deserve. In general, I feel uncomfortable taking money. I mean, I told my husband, if I can just go and sing for free, I'd do it. If I could, put out an album with no name on it, I'd do it. I just love making music. If I can just be in the studio, like no one know who I am, I'd do that. But unfortunately, it doesn't really work like that. People want to see you on stage, and not those people who are like, just love getting out there on stage and just love, getting applauded. I'm so not there. I'm those people who would just love to live in a studio and sleep there and get up in the morning and make more music and then go to sleep and make more music the next day. I mean, that's me. I perform because I have to perform, but it's not something that I just love doing. I'm honored that people invite me and, they feel that I can really add to their event. So I'm really honored by it, but it's not something that, I love doing. I'm those people who all say, okay, I'm going to call in sick the day before the concert because I'm so, stressed. I'm those kind of people.
So you feel like you have to perform for the money part of it or for the exposure part of it?
The exposure. And it's true because that one, when I perform and, then I'm exposed a lot more. My music is exposed. I mean, thank God I perform all over the world. So my music does get to all different parts of the world.
Yeah.
And then also uploading to social media, that I've performed here and I've performed there. It also adds to it. But performing isn't the easy part for me. I'd rather just make music behind a curtain.
Well, you see me here. I'm in my studio. I feel the same way you do. I'd so much rather be in the state of creating music during day hours on my own turf than performing, being on a stage at night when I'm so exhausted traveling. By the time you're on stage, you're so exhausted. And you, with the traveling, I mean, if there's any traveling involved, by the time you're performing, there's no energy left. And
these last 2 concerts I just did in Russia, and within these last 2 weeks, I went to Russia twice. The first one I did in St. Petersburg, and the second one I just got back this morning from Krasnodar. So I traveled all night. I left on Motzei Shabbos. I got there Sunday morning, and I performed a few hours later. I didn't sleep for like 24 hours before the concert. So yeah, it's not easy, but then there's the adrenaline. So, you push through. It's fun. Once I'm on there, I try and enjoy myself.
has there been any resistance to what you're doing? I know putting out music videos and Kolisha in general, open to the public, always brings up some resistance. I I would assume Chabad is a little bit more open-minded than other Haredi communities, and well, anyone who puts out a music video has to deal with some sort of backlash. So I'm just curious what your experience has been.
Yeah, so for sure, not everyone likes the ideas of women putting out music videos on YouTube. Even in Chabad, even though Chabad is more open to those kind of things and more modern ways of, getting Judaism out, but still Kol Isha and YouTube, not everyone likes the idea, even in Chabad. So I've gotten messages from people saying, what do you think you're doing? You call yourself a religious woman, a Haredi woman. How could you do such a thing? Uh, you're causing men to sin. It's like I'm sitting them down and forcing them to watch my videos, right? Even though it says for women and girls only. So, which means that I'm covered. It means that once I write that according to halacha, then any man who watches it, it's on his own account, and I don't have to take that on me. But still, not everyone likes the idea, but that's okay. They don't have to. I'm not forcing anyone to watch my music videos. But also, I've gotten so much good feedback, and so many people have told me that it's helped them and it helps them get through their day, and my videos are on repeat. And, so I've gotten so much good feedback. So, all the backlash is, it's just such a tiny percent that I don't even pay attention to it.
Yeah, 100%. And when you have a husband involved or in-laws or sometimes it could be your own parents who are embarrassed about you or any artist out there pushing any boundaries, that could cause friction as well. So I love the attitude.
I wouldn't do it if my husband, wouldn't be okay with it. So
yeah. And again, you're not doing anything wrong, technically speaking, halachically. According to many majority mainstream opinions. Okay, so we talked about this the last time we did this interview, and I'd love to get those stories out there because they were so fun to just have you talk about it and see your face. A lot of your projects have been done while you were pregnant or in the hospital giving birth, and what I love about those stories that you've experienced is that there's no such thing as a 9-to-5 artist like maternity leave or Pesach. You have your projects and they're the most important thing. Yes, you could be having a baby, you could be making Pesach, whatever else is going on in your life, but somehow this just it's life, and it also needs to be birthed, and it comes when it comes. And so yeah, go ahead, tell us your story. There's a few of them.
Yeah. So my first one, which is actually before I got pregnant, but this just shows like what a real Jewish religious mother/singer is. Okay. So I told you about this annual Chabad convention that I performed at with my daughter in front of 7,000 women.
By the way, did they pay you for that?
So that was actually, I told them I'll do it for free. It was my first time performing one of my original songs, and I did get, the exposure. So I was ready to do that for free. So, but since then, obviously, I have not done things for free. But that did actually really get me a lot of exposure. So I perform at this event for 7,000 women, all sparkly and done up. And, I got my shades all done, and we rented out dresses for my daughter and I, and, we're all glam up there on stage. Okay, the concert ends and I get home and I have to go to this wedding of these really good friends of ours. They were marrying off their daughter and I had to go there. So I had like 1 hour to get ready and find a babysitter. All my regular babysitters couldn't come. So my friend sent me a number of this new babysitter. So I contacted her. She said she can come. She'll be there within half an hour. I get home. My house is like upside down. So I change into like my, cleaning clothes and I start washing the floor and, like organizing the kids and getting them into bed and everything. And the babysitter arrives and I'm like in the middle washing the floor. She looks at me. She's like, weren't you on stage like 3 hours ago? And I'm like, yeah, that was me. And I'm like, with my cleaning clothes on, my mop in my hand. I'm like, yeah, that was me. What you see here, this is the real me. That was all glam and yeah, but that's not real life. So this is real life. And so that like really goes to show, some people, even on social media, they think that we sleep in the studio. Obviously, I would love to, but I don't. Because my account is for music, so they don't see the other parts of my life when I'm like driving the kids back and forth to school and all the different things they need to go to, and they think that we just live music. I mean, I'd love to, but it's not real life, and people are sure, that we don't have any, obstacles, and we don't have any struggles in life, and our lives are just perfect and golden. But, thank God we have so many good things in our lives, but, you know, we also have real lives. We have kids, we have cleaning to do. We have other things you have to do. So that's real life. Okay, so that's the first story. Second story, we'll talk about uploading my music videos. So for some reason, I got this idea to do the music video when I was already pregnant. So we started filming my first music video, Hakol Mimcha, when I was 5 months pregnant. That's why I was wearing two different dresses. So one of them, my stomach was like really popping out, and I didn't really want to show off my stomach then. So that's why half of it's cut under the chest so that you don't see my stomach. So that was that one. And then my second video, which This Is Your Time, which I did a cover for Shweki song, but I did it like a vocal video, a cappella video. So I recorded it when I was 39 weeks pregnant. Yeah, and I videoed it like a week before I was supposed to give birth, Erev Pesach, like literally a couple of days before. And by the time it was edited, I was in the hospital and I uploaded it while I was in the middle of doing my monitor before giving birth. So the nurses there, they asked me what I do for a living. I told them I'm a singer. I'm actually right now I'm uploading a new music video. So they're like, really? I'm like, yes. Like, can we hear it? So they put it on there in the ward, and we all danced and fun to it. So that was that. And my third one, that's why that one's also cut, because I had a huge stomach then underneath the camera. And my third one, also an a cappella, which I did of Gad Elbaz's song. So I just gave birth. I still had my, extra stomach there. So that's why it's also cut. So basically they're all cut because I'm either before or after giving birth. So yeah.
So that's awesome. Can I ask how you use other people's songs? Do you ask them for permission? How does that work if someone wanted to do a cover?
So I didn't ask permission because I've seen other people on YouTube doing covers, but I do make sure always to write whose song it is. And underneath and in the description box, I even put the link to the original song, because I do think it's very important, for people to get recognition for their music. So it's very important for me to write. At the beginning, I think I even write before my name, whose song it is. Like I wrote Gad Elbaz, cover by Chaya Kogan, because it is very important, to give the recognition. Yeah. And then again, underneath, I put the link to the original song. And also when people do my music, I mean, I've had also a bunch of covers, so it is, important for people to know that the original song is mine, because, we work hard on our music and we want people to hear the original.
Absolutely. So I'm from Moscow and you lived in Moscow, and I just feel like it's the elephant in the room. Could you tell us a little bit about your life there? And we never crossed paths there. I'm just also curious now that we're talking about it now. Russia and Moscow, especially, is a huge arts culture city and country. Have you used that to your advantage?
Well, the arts of there are a lot more classic. I wouldn't say kind of my style music. I did perform the beginning of this year in a theater over there. Our community rented out. It was 10 years to the passing of my mother-in-law. So I flew in especially to perform. But I haven't really, used any of the music industry in Moscow to my advantage. I never put out music over there. I've never worked in the studios over there because it was also a little harder for me to communicate there, even though I do speak Russian, but not as a Russian. So it was just easier here. Also, once I found my producer here in Israel, it was really important for me that he understood the style that I'm looking for. It took me a long time to find him because I was looking all over here, but they were doing more Israeli style, and I was looking for something more modern pop. So till I finally found him, I wasn't going anywhere else. But no, I didn't really use it in Moscow.
And what was life like there?
So I moved there 2 months after I got married. So my father-in-law is the rabbi of our community in the center of Moscow, of the Chaya Shul. I have two sister-in-laws there, so it was kind of like a family shlichus. We were working there with the young professionals, and then we opened a special Chabad house just for them, and it's going very well now. Life is different there. Definitely interesting.
How
I
so?
enjoyed it.
Just give a few examples.
It's very different. I mean, the whole lifestyle there. Um, I enjoy it. I mean, I enjoyed the way people would, really respect even the different events. If it's the way they dress to different events. I mean, compared to Israel, where, people can come to a wedding here in jeans and a t-shirt. Like over there, when you go to the ballet, so people dress up as if they're going to a wedding, and it's gorgeous. They really respect these, the arts over there, which I loved. Also, the community is very warm. I didn't know much about the Russian community before I moved there. There's just like all these different stigmas about Russians. But I found them to be, really warm and, really wanting to help. And so we go there all the time. We're going to be there for Pesach. We go, to be with the community as much as we can. So we moved back to Israel 2 years ago. We had to move for something, within the family. But we go there all the time. We love our community there, and we built over there with the young professionals. So we're definitely they're a big part of our lives.
That's beautiful. And do you feel like you have settled into a community in Israel? I know that's a loaded question for a lot of people. Or do you feel like your community is there with your family, and then here it's more like, I wouldn't say hefker, but maybe it feels more hefker. I mean, coming from
Well,
such a close knit community to Israel, where you
yeah.
have.
So I moved to Israel when I was 10. So my parents live here and my siblings live here. We live now in Rehovot. So we belong also to like a younger Chabad community. But our heart is there because over there, it's when you give and you build a community around you, and every Shabbos I'd have 20 people, at every meal. I'd start cooking, I'd go shopping Wednesday, I'd start cooking Thursday morning till Shabbos. I made everything homemade, and when you're so used to giving and giving, and it's amazing how much you get back And that's really missing now that we live here in Israel. Um, that's the hard part. But so our heart is really there. We love living here. We have to be here in the meantime. But who knows? Maybe one day we'll move back. You never know.
That's so wonderful. And it's nice hearing another mom say she loved the cooking. I don't know. Did you say you loved the cooking, or you just did a lot of hours of it?
I did a lot of it, a lot of cooking, but I enjoyed, seeing people enjoying it. The part I loved most about Shabbos is when I'd open the door and just see, how many guests you brought with you home from shul. I'd never know how many would come. I'd just cook and I'd say, okay, bring 20, bring 30, bring whatever. And he'd just bring. I wouldn't invite them ahead of time. And this, they'd come from far, but, he'd just bring a whole bunch. So we had a lot of, people from our younger community and new people who'd just come in for Shabbos. So we always had, a wide variety and mixture of people, which was always very interesting and fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And Moscow, we also never knew how many people would show up at our Shabbos meals, and I would take that when my parents were making weddings. Also, when it came to the Russian community, you just didn't know who's going to show up. When you're making a wedding in America, I know it's like you have to respond. The parents need the head count. The caterer needs the number. Yeah, and then you don't know who's coming. There's just open seating, and we hope everyone has enough food and enough seats. And
And there's always enough to go around.
there's always enough to go around. Yeah. So back to the performing end of it and the monetizing the art conversation. Could you tell us more about your experiences with having to handle your own finances and when it comes to negotiating for yourself when your product is you?
Yeah, that's not easy. I'm still looking to work with someone who actually will be talking to the people who are wanting to invite me, because it really is hard when I'm the one who's coming to perform and I'm the one who needs to talk to them about the money, and it's uncomfortable. Um, I'm still looking for someone who is willing to take that job on themselves.
Is there
But
enough left over from the job to pay them?
I mean, I think there is. I mean, it's obviously it will be according to what we decide, but it's more just the first negotiation, because after that, I talk to them about whatever I need, in terms of, equipment and all that. I don't have a problem talking to them, but just the money part is just a little uncomfortable, saying like, this is my price, and then then saying it's expensive, and you're like, okay, but listen, like trying to convince them that you know it's that it's what it's worth because of this and this and this. I mean, I don't go actually into those places, because if you want to invite me, then this is my price and this is what I feel I deserve for, if it's traveling overseas and leaving my husband and 5 kids, or if first of all it's the traveling, which you take like 2 days away from being home at least. It's also, where I am today as a singer. It's not like, I started singing yesterday. I've invested a lot of money into my music, into my music videos, and I want to continue making music, and that costs money. I mean, if I want to put out more, I have to get money from somewhere. It doesn't grow in my backyard. So, which it did, but it costs money. And, in order to keep making music, you need to get, it needs to come in also somehow. But thank God I didn't have to negotiate too much. People call me and write to me, okay, what is your price? I say, this is my price. So either they say, okay, it's too much for me, or they say, okay. I don't go into those places of convincing them to take me. I always say, listen, if it's too much for you, I can recommend a friend of mine who takes less, but if they ask for a little discount, I'm willing to give a discount, but I'm not going to go half price because, that's what I feel like I need to take. That's my price.
Right.
And what's worth for me to come, you know? So I
Absolutely.
have for overseas and different prices for Israel. In Israel, they don't pay so much. Um, the the budget isn't, as high as overseas. It is harder for them. So I do take that, into account, and I don't take as much in Israel. It's also closer to home. It's like 1 hour drive, 1 hour drive back, and you're back home. It's not like you go 2 flights and don't sleep for 24 hours or 48 hours and then come home and you're a wreck. So it is a little different. So the prices obviously change with overseas. But yeah.
No, I'm happy you're talking about it because, well, even if you didn't want to put out new music, you could still ask for that value because you need to show up. And for you to show up, you are a woman, you are a wife, a mother. And if they want you where they want you, you can't be in other places doing other things that are important to you. And that costs money, whether you invested $1 million into your music or zero money into your music. And this concept that just so crazy for me, and it brought it out again when you said you did that first and only concert for free for exposure with the 7,000 women at the annual conference or convention. I was thinking, if a caterer or a photographer was doing their first event, they would get paid and get the exposure to that 7,000
Yeah.
people audience. Why are artists treated differently? And honestly, until women like you and me and everyone else is doing it set the price and stand by it and don't fool, that's the only way to fight the resistance of people wanting to pay for it and thinking that, oh, because you enjoy it. Well, chefs also enjoy cooking technically, but when they have to make 7,000 meals for something, they need to get paid, even if it's for one person. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here in Israel, there are plenty women who are singing, and then whatever they get paid, they get paid. It's more within like the Sephardi community. I'm on this WhatsApp group with like a whole bunch of other singers, and some of them, they go and perform, and then at the end of the evening, the women like give donations, and then it comes to a certain price. And so that's why in Israel it is, some people are still not there understanding that, this is your price. But I don't, just like I said before, I'm not forcing anyone to take me, just like I'm not forcing anyone to listen to my music or watch my music videos. If you want me, this is me, this is my price. If you don't, then it's fine. There's so many other people out there that you can take. So I'm fine with it.
And that's coming from a place of empowerment and confidence, and that's the only way to fight the fight. Regarding the other thing you spoke about, wanting an agent or someone to represent you just to discuss the money aspect of it, I found what interesting about it because I've been on both ends. I've been on the end of obviously being hired to perform, but I've also been for my other side job when I work with performers and we need male performers because it's a mixed event. When I had to deal with performers, just having that person who they have hired, forget about the money talk. They come there and they are, where's that person's food? Where's that person's microphone? When I have to come perform and there's no budget to hire someone to be your advocate, you're standing there saying, I really need my 5 minutes of rehearsal time to make sure that the microphone is not going to, go off when I get on stage. And you have to be your own advocate, but you can't be like, I'll happily be the strong, mean person pushing to make sure the person who needs their rehearsal time on stage with the sound system guy gets that time. But if I also need to be that person who's standing in that gown and singing and smiling and pretending that dream life, quote unquote, we were talking about earlier, I can't play both personas. People are going to think I'm crazy because I'm screaming in 1 minute at people because I need a certain level of professionalism or things that I need to sing. And on the other hand,
you can't play both roles. I mean, you can, but you're compromising your brand by doing that. And that's where I find an agent or somebody advocating for you or representing you really coming in handy. Maybe in terms of your prices, if you didn't want to talk about it with people, and you don't have someone having them written out. And if somebody reaches out, you say, oh, and I've done that actually, to send out a price sheet, like, anywhere that travel time requires more than half a day, this is the price. But then you'd have to come up with the prices, and you'd have to change them every time, potentially. But that gives you that protection level.
Even though, thank God, I've never really had any of those problems when I'd come to the hall. I'm actually very organized. I tell them, I'm willing to come 2 hours before because I want to know that my sound check is being done at least an hour before. So I'm very organized. I'd never do a sound check 5 minutes before. I'd rather come earlier. I know everything's fine. All my songs are on the computer. Everything's, organized.
I'm not talking about the 5 minutes before. I'm saying when you're there 2 hours before and they won't even give you 5 minutes because everyone else is taking priority. And unless you start demanding your time on stage, you're not going to get it. But yeah, sorry. So you had the opposite experience, basically. You're very organized and demanding.
Normally when I come, it's when I do the full concert. I have performed, in bigger events where I've done like one song, but most of the time they do that like a day before. I've found that, the day before you come for practice and you know exactly where you're going on. But so thank God I haven't had that experience yet. Hopefully I won't experience that either. But for me, it's just, even though also, till now, also the money part has been fine. I just tell them this is my price. And either they say they can do it or they can't. And, I just say, listen, whatever you answer me is fine. Just let me know. So I don't go into negotiations with them. So it's just uncomfortable because I don't feel comfortable. I love my music. I love making music, and, to ask for money, obviously it's my time and the effort and all, everything I've invested into it. So I do know that I'm supposed to get paid for it, but I don't know, just asking for money is hard for me. So that's mainly not because I've had to negotiate or convince anyone or anything, but, it's just easier if I have someone else telling them the price, and then I send them the list of equipment I need. And till now, thank God it has kind of gone pretty smoothly. So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I really enjoyed this conversation with you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and opening up and telling us the behind the scenes on what's going on in Chaya Kogan's musical life.
Thank you. And I love listening to your podcasts. They're very interesting. So many interesting subjects. So it's amazing what you're doing in general, and your music and all the different things that you're doing. You do like 100 different things. So thank you for what you give us and what you add to the Jewish community and the female community. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you so much for that. It means a lot.
Thanks so much for listening until the end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did enjoy this episode, please make sure to check this podcast out on your podcast app. If you need to figure out how to do that, if you have an Android, you need to download a podcast app or Spotify or Stitcher. If you have an iPhone, then you should already have the podcast app downloaded to your phone called Podcasts. And then you search for The Franciska Show. While you're there, please make sure to subscribe. Also, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Also, join the Artpreneur Facebook group. And if you'd like to schedule a strategy session with me or a discovery call to see how you can transition from being a hobbyist into a businesswoman, or how to just simply grow your business, then I'd love to speak to you. You can reach out by emailing me at franciskak@gmail.com. K is spelled K-A-Y. And of course, through Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for listening to The Franciska Show, a JewishCoffeehouse.com podcast, and we'll see you next time.